Lovely to be here. Greetings from Tallinn, Estonia. And I'm going to share today my experiences on the piloting, what has gone well, what has gone wrong, why is it important, and what are those insights based on my own experience, and also share the key findings of what is a good pilot in my opinion, and what are the common pitfalls which I see from the companies that I'm advising. And from my own background, I am the founder of two companies. Wundamental AI is dealing with analyzing business leadership coaching sessions to help leaders to go into action mode and not be in a decision paralysis and thinking, what's the next thing that I should be doing? And Clanbeat is focusing on students' mental health, and both of them are digital solutions, and which require product development, iteration, and market the go-to-market strategies, and finding the best product market fit. And I am also a service designer, which means that I'm really focused on like building up customer-centric solutions. And this is I saw from your agenda that you are having service designers in your program as well, and I was super happy to see it, because I have seen so many solutions in the world, products and services, which somebody has gotten super good idea that I should be doing it, but one thing is good idea, and the other way is like, how do you execute it to the place that people are actually benefiting from it? So there is this kind of gap between good idea and the good execution, and service design methodologies help you to really understand what are the customer pains and what's the best delivery to solve those pains with your services and products. And I'm also advisory board member to the Science and Research Funding in the Ministry of Estonian Economic Affairs, meaning that I really love to build up services which are science-based, evidence-driven, and focusing on applying the science into the real world use cases. So these are the driving foundations, what I'm operating on. And I'm going to share little case studies from both of my companies on the piloting experience. Let's start with Clanbeat, because Clanbeat was my first company which I founded, and I see a really big difference between first-time founders and second-time founders. And I have stumbled upon in so many obstacles, and I'm happy to share those learnings. While we were building Clanbeat, which is then focusing on students' mental health and helping them to get the relevant and personalized help according to their needs in timely manner, we went through a really good process of co-creation together with the end users from schools and the students themselves. And we conducted a lot of workshops, like pinpointing where actually to target our service. And this took a really long time. All the stakeholder management and relationship building and getting into the place where you're actually getting the most vital insights out is really important in the beginning phases. But then we got the first minimum viable product ready in our head, and we launched it in one market and got really good market adaptation and got really good first results. And we were blinded by the first success of it. And pretty soon we scaled into 68 different markets without having done the whole loop of value delivery within the whole year. So some industries, education is one of them, but if we go into like textile and retail, then I think the best, what is the length of the value delivery cycle. And if you have not have had the experience of the whole value delivery cycle, then scaling too fast is a mistake we did. And we didn't take this mindset at that time that the first market is our pilot market. So the putting on the hat of really taking your first users as piloting users and learning together with them. This requires strategic and really process-driven methodologies of how to lead it in a way that you wouldn't be carried away by the big volume that you're getting and the big traction that you're getting. Because if you get a lot of volume and users, then it is you're starting to get so many requests from different kind of clients and people wanting to make your product or service a little bit different. And at some point, you're getting those requests so many, and it is super hard to understand who is the one who is the we should be actually servicing. And today, through many years of going back to basics and starting piloting with smaller groups, and also trying to understand what kind of parts of the product that we have built are the ones which are actually delivering the value. So we backed up into our creeps and started to take it into the parts. Okay, we have 3 different parts in our product. One part was like how students are being able to understand what is important in their days. Then is reflecting, and then there's well-being support of understanding what are those methodologies and help required for them to help them to get into the good place. And we understood that 2 of those values that we had worked out to schools are valuable, but these are vitamins. These are not painkillers. And we found out that only one of those 3 value service offers which we had is actual painkiller. And it didn't end there. You might have super awesome product, which is, we worked it out together with educational scientists, backed it up with science-driven methodologies, and worked together with schools to understand, is this something which will make your life better? And when it came into the real life school scenario, you're having people who are busy, you're having people who are overworked, you're having people who are limited in budget, you're having people who are not at the power of managing their budgets totally. So you're having so many different variables in this game, which is actually making it is hard to get into the full potential of applying your product or service to the end user. And by understanding that that your service is not just one element of it, it is one thing is the value you provide, another thing is to whom you're providing it, then it is how do you deliver it, how do you manage the relationships with the clients, and how do you actually get the full cycle of value delivery done. These are all different elements, and understanding each of those elements is super important. And this is what in the beginning phases, small scale piloting is actually enabling you to do, is to understand which of those hypotheses which you have put with your team developing your services and products, which are valid and which need iterations, and understanding that you need to separate those different aspects of your service delivery was life-changing for us in a way that we finally figured out what is the best method of delivering our service, and also where does it land the best. So I see very many companies failing in this 0 to 100 game. So 0 to 100 means that you have an idea and you have a product thought out, but how to get into the place that you have, let's say, 100 happy customers. And this is the hardest part, and this is the most costly part of developing any new services as well. I'm going to share also how I built up my second company, which is Wundamental, which is developed together with neuro and AI scientists to understand how human behavior and leadership biases and decision paralysis and complex novel situations in the world could be led into the success with AI analytics behind leadership coaching sessions. And this time I approached it totally differently. So in the beginning phases, I combined a consortium of companies with whom I am co-creating this service together. And although in a startup environment, you have to move really fast and show good results in the beginning and the numbers should be growing, I was telling to myself constantly, hold your horses, prove your hypothesis and validate those before you start going faster and going further. And there are so many things which you can actually do in small iterations. I'm gonna step on them in my next slides as well. We started off understanding the value proposition, but at the same time, we understood that the one thing is that you're finding out what's the good service or product you're doing, but the beauty is in the execution game. And what piloting is good is in the phases where you have to prove your excellence in the execution game. So ideas don't matter so much, but the good execution game matters, and piloting helps you to do that. And by combining the consortium of companies, we are working really closely together. As you can see, there were not many. We started off with 12 because from my service designer experience, I know that 5 to 8 user groups give you the understanding of the 80% of the whole target group market understandings. So having in the pilot group 5 to 8 companies or clients to work with really closely is something which is giving you already really good pattern recognition. I combined this cohort of companies to work together with to 12 because I understood that life happens and etc. And from those companies, one of them was acquired, one went bankruptcy, one had to downscale. So I finally ended up with my desired pilot cohorts which were needed. So in the beginning, when you start, plan a little bit bigger cohort to your piloting, knowing that life happens, and in order for you to get the vital pattern recognition, you need to have 5 to 8 like different data points and user groups to understand your product and service value. And we iterated in a stealth mode for about a year, meaning that I wanted to prove with all of the small pilots that I'm composing the whole value delivery cycle, and also have the numbers behind it proving it. Because being a first-time founder, it is really easy to be blinded by vanity metrics and people's emotions saying back, oh, this is awesome, I'm going to totally use it, this will make my life so much better. But how does it actually work in real life situation, and how does it actually being perceived, used, and coming back to you as well as a delivery in the value or the financial metrics which you need? This is something which needs iteration, and doing it firsthand in a smaller batch gives you the possibility to control much more better the KPIs which you want to drive, and what metrics you want to analyze, then to understand if your piloting was successful or what aspect of it you need to be changing. And I'm really, as I'm mentoring also many starting startup founders, then I see that many of us tend to get stuck into the researching mode. Researching is important, as famous Einstein has said that if you put 95% into the problem definition and then 5% into solving it, then you're good. You first have to understand the really good problem you're going to be solving. But learning comes from iterative action. And if you're not putting yourself out there, then you're not getting those learnings in. And I always tell my team as well that if you're going out with a minimum viable product or prototype in a phase where you're not feeling ashamed that it's like a little bit crippled, ugly, or not perfect, then you have polished it too long. So it has to, in order to keep the momentum and speed and the iterative learning going, it has to have this kind of simplicity to it, in a way that you're not putting too much effort into polishing it, but putting most of the effort into learning from the iterative piloting process. And this is what also distinguishes entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, because like entrepreneurs are always in the middle of action in the first phases of launching your services and products. Be super close to your clients. I suggest also to compose a consortium of close clients you are working with, and be hands in the motor all the time and learn from it. And because it's not about like, we have seen that like I put the hypothesis to the pilot, and in order to understand if I'm right or wrong. It is not about proving that you're right. It is about discovering the best pathway forward and understanding what do you need to iterate next. And as we are living in the VUCA world, which is a lot of volatility and ambiguity and unknown, then the mindset of iterative learning is constant, meaning that your service or product will never be ready. It will be always has to be adapting to the market and the customer needs, and better to start with this mindset already early, and start using it in your processes of piloting. So what can we pilot? There are so many things that can be actually piloted, and I have fallen myself into the trap of piloting the whole thing. Okay, we got the minimum viable product, or we got the prototype ready. Let's give it to users and now see what happens. It is really vague in that way, because like you're getting so much different feedback, and if you don't know what is exactly what you're looking for as a proof of success, or proof of where you need to learn, then it is already destined to fail. So I suggest to choose what you are going to be piloting with. Is it the value that you have figured out that is something that you want to understand? Is it like landing into good grounds? Is it go-to-market strategy? Because like being a second-time founder as well, I'm really driven by go-to-market strategies, not only great products and services, because you can have a great product or service, but if your go-to-market strategy is not fitting, then it is not going to fly. You can test marketing. I have tested many marketing messages, channels, methods. But if you are like composing the pilot into really concrete thing which you want to pilot, then it is much more easier to make understandings and iterations from it. You can test pricing. You can pilot with sales actions. If you're having inventory or sourcing to your materials, then the things which are happening behind what the client is receiving is also important, because like having the delays in there and having the quality aspect behind it is something which is finally is determining the value that your client is actually getting. The most easiest thing to think of what I should be piloting is the customer experience. Is the customer experience providing the value that we had hypothesis on? Harder thing to pilot this business model. Is my business model actually working? Because business model piloting takes a little longer iterations, and this is a reason why I spent almost a year in piloting my business model. And understanding what tweaks and adjustments I need to make, and I made many. And you have to be ruthless in there to really understand what needs to be cut and what needs to be adjusted in order to do it. So some of those what to pilot are easier to set hypotheses and conduct, and some of them take a little bit longer time. But all of them are important. In order for you to become successful and start scaling, you need to be piloting with all of those aspects of your business. So how to structure a strong pilot? So first, define the hypothesis. What is this thing what you want to learn from it? And be really specific. For example, will customers pay X for the Y product or service? Or it can be product quality related, or it can be related to they want to purchase this through this channel, or are they willing to recommend it based on their experience to others. So there are so many aspects which you could pilot, but make this hypothesis as small as possible and as controllable as possible, because otherwise you cannot make the learnings. And you have to understand what are the right metrics. So I have seen many founders be biased by the emotions which the potential clients are giving as a feedback. And but the emotions are really hard to put into something which you can measure and what you can convert into actual business. And I have seen many companies also failing in a way that they are doing a survey. We are having this kind of service or product. Would you want to buy it? Put yes or no, or how much would you like to buy it? And for me, this kind of survey style research is not actually proving anything. You have to give them actual purchase decision. You have to give them actual user experience of how to use it. So I don't believe so much in a hypothetical piloting, but actual piloting with as minimum aspect of your product or service what you can. So get real. Choosing the right target group is something which is also really vital, depending on the demographic, depending on the location, depending on the mindsets, depending on their age groups, digital literacy, consumer habits, and etc. So you cannot please all. So you have to understand what kind of target groups are responding to your hypothesis and rather go super specific. I lately like those companies who are super specific and in a niche of understanding their customer, and later you can go broader, but start with super niche and super specific target. And what is this really minimum viable thing you can test? Is it if you're having digital product, then you can test with landing page. If it is a physical product, give something to touch or give the experience for them which they can go through. Even if it's a duct tape solution or spaghetti code or something which is it doesn't fully function behind it, all of the elements, but those main functions which you need to be functioning, they need to understand how is it working, and do a small scale trial as I mentioned before as well, and don't get too comfortable in the first findings. Do the iteration loops and do the feedback loops, and don't just collect data and build on what you have learned, because only by iterating and adjusting, this is how we are going to be successful in this VUCA world. Common pitfalls, especially for the first time founders, it's falling so much in love with the idea what you're doing, but not the actual problem. So as birthing something into life, you had to have millions of iterations, and it has to be all circling around what's the actual problem you're solving, not what's the initial idea of the solution which you were thinking would be so awesome. So define the problem and start iterating on the problem. For example, my big problem in the world, which I'm wanting to solve in the world, is unlocking human potential. And there can be so many different ways of how to solve this particular problem. And I try one thing. If one doesn't work, I try another. If one doesn't work, it always doesn't have to be one time. It can be digital solution. One time it can be human to human interaction. One time it can be a book or a leaflet or a webinar. So there are so many different formats to how to solve the problem, which is actually mind blowing. But for that, for you to be successful, you need to love the problem and feel the problem and be the problem, and not so much the idea of your first iteration. Testing too broadly too soon is something which I mentioned in the beginning of my talk as well. Start small and go through the whole value delivery process with a small batch before you start scaling, either to larger cohorts or to different markets. Even if you choose one market to be your first target first, then start with a small group and deliver the whole value delivery to them first, because before otherwise you spend too much time and too much money to scaling and but still having this kind of baby mistakes inside your product or service. Negative signals are really big opportunity for improving your product or service. And although we tell ourselves that we love feedback but human cognitive bias is worked in a way that sometimes we want to neglect those things. But I urge you to not neglect those things. And also, if you have a team, openly discuss those things with the team as well and share. If you have a team channel in a Slack or Teams or Messenger or wherever you're keeping your team up to date, make a feedback channel, and constantly when something comes in, post it to there as raw as it is, so everybody can actually see it and be in the loop. And I have seen also companies failing because they are measuring vanity metrics, not actionable insights. For example, if you're measuring how many clicks I'm getting or how many people are visiting my website, how many instead of how many deliveries done or how many clients are actually paying. So having the vanity metrics, which are super large, which are good to look at, you have to understand what are those KPIs which you are actually wanting to drive and which are actually important from your business perspective, which you need to prove. And as I started, it's not about discovering that you're right, but it's about discovering the best path forward. And you're always in the iteration game, and do small pilots with very clear targets for specific hypotheses, and redefine what are those things which you want to see in this pilot, because then it is much more easier to also understand them and witness them happening and make pattern recognition based on it and make decisions based